1 minute until showtime.
Oh. 99. Let's do it again. One more time. Yo! Absolutely grand. My sound's not very good.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, from the world's most famous beach, from where beach racing began, it's the Legends of Racing radio show. Live from racing's original North Turn Beach Bar and Grill in Ponce Inlet, Florida. The Legends of Racing radio show. And your host, Buzz McKim. And co-host, Rich Combs.
Hey, we're here for a new edition, and this is going to be a show that's like no other. We've brought in a real superstar, and it's Kathy Bridges, and she's here. Kathy does a little bit different. You know, normally we would have some old ugly guy up here that's been a racer all his life, like Jimmy Sushi right there. You know, we'd have a guy that looked like him. But we're gonna talk about a program called Mopars at the Beach. This is the founder of that group. She's a school teacher, 43 years, retired, and then decided to get into promoting car events, which everything is paid to charity. It's on zero profit savings. Nothing's held on to, it all goes. So before we move any further than that, let me turn it over to Kathy. Tell me, what got you into this?
Well, back in 2014, my husband, Tommy, received a Quilt of Valor for his service in Vietnam. And he'll tell you that that quilt is his most prized possession that he has.
All right, Tommy.
He hates
Tommy's right here. Give him he's the guy with the combat engineer hat on.
And he hates for me to tell people this, but when the ladies from the Myrtle Beach Shorebirds, the chapter of quilts there, wrapped him in that quilt, he stood there and cried. And he says that's the first time that he was ever truly thanked for his service in Vietnam, that it was his big welcome home. Because back then, Vietnam guys, when they landed back in the States, were spit on and treated badly, and that just was never treated right. And he said that was his first big welcome.
Well, we got a bunch of Vietnam people in here. I know they all feel the same way, and I'm sure they're happy to hear this story. And let me tell you, I'd have probably cried too. I'm telling you. So,
well, I had just retired, and we had moved to the beach. That when I say beach, south of Myrtle Beach, near Murrells Inlet and Pawleys Island.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to quilt. I can't sew. Can't do any of those crafty things like that. But I knew how to fundraise. You always had to raise funds for field trips and sports teams and anything else at school, whether it was school supplies or whether they'd run out of paper and you had to have money to get some. But I knew how to fundraise, so we had been in a Mopar club in the upstate in South Carolina, and we had a lot of Mopar friends. And there had been an event there for 2 years in Myrtle Beach called Mopar Week. And the guy who ran it was from Columbia, South Carolina. And he said he was giving it up. He didn't want to do it anymore. And we told him that we would go do all the stuff in Myrtle and get his
Sure.
permits and do all the running around for him if he would just keep it, because there's so few Mopar events in the country. And he said no, he was done. So Tommy asked him, did he mind if we took it over? So he said, fine, take it. We just had to change the name. It couldn't be Mopar Week. So we decided on Mopars at the Beach. We applied for the 501 with our group, became a South Carolina state charity also, so that we could legally sell raffle tickets and stuff like
Sure.
that. And our first year was 2016. And that year, we were only able to donate $3,000, and we always gave half every year to the local Quilts of Valor. And then that first year was split with an after-school program for disadvantaged kids down in Pawleys Island. And that was our first year. And we built up until last year. We had about 400 cars at the show from 24 different states.
And how much money did you raise for charity?
Okay, last year was $22,000, and
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
our total since 2016 and beginning, you know, we had those beginning lean years, okay? But we've donated $104,300 from Mopars at the Beach, and it all stays locally. And Quilts of Valor got $13,000 last year.
Wow.
So when we first began, they had. I'm not going to let you talk.
Good.
Started the local chapter there at Myrtle Beach, had about 250, 300 quilt requests that they couldn't fill. And as of last year, they had filled every one of them. And we're looking for other veterans to be able to award. It's a national organization.
Stop. It's time for me to cry now. Wow, that's wonderful.
Well,
Wow.
it's a national organization that gives a handmade patriotic quilt to any combat veteran that's been injured physically or psychologically. And they go through an awards ceremony and wrap you in the quilt.
Oh,
and it was
super.
just awesome. So that was our way of giving back.
Well, now for all the Chevrolet and Ford guys we got in the audience, you might want to tell them, what's a Mopar?
A Mopar is any vehicle that falls under the Chrysler umbrella. It's the old Plymouths, Chargers, Challengers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Fiat, even I think the old AMX, I think, was a Mopar
No.
In the beginning.
Well, you name for Motor
Motor
Parts
Parts.
Company,
Right.
and Chrysler having all of these at the Mopar, but if you had a Plymouth or a Dodge or a Chrysler, you could get the parts there. So they become, it just became a name to use, and so then it's so much easier than saying Plymouth or whatever. And of course, all of the folks here are absolute NASCAR people because we live in NASCAR land. Plymouths and Dodges that ran around Daytona. Richard Petty, there's Mr. STP with his Richard Petty shirt on. That's Petty blue. How many cars have you seen in your life? And people say, what color was Petty blue? Mm-hmm. You know, all this is Mopar stuff. And so having 400 or 500 people coming to this show as exhibitors, as registered, that's wonderful. So I'm getting ahead of you and talking about stuff here.
That's okay.
So
You keep talking.
no, you're doing well, and I appreciate it. So I just can't believe how many quilts you guys did. And you did this for 9 years in Myrtle Beach, right?
Right.
And for the 10th year, you're bringing it to Daytona. So we're getting something that Myrtle Beach doesn't have. We're getting contributions, and we're getting charity, and we're taking care of the people in this neighborhood and around. We're happy. So who do you think would be your list of charities this year? Do you have them
We've
already?
got them. It's all. We always do nothing but military and first responders. And this year is the local Jason Rayner Foundation. Homes for our troops. We've done Mission 22 for several years, and we still have it here. And Spouses Backing the Blue, which is kind of local here with Port Orange, I think, because of where our show is. And we're also doing Tunnel to Towers.
Okay, great.
That's more national, but we had someone helping us that requested that one because they knew someone personally.
Well, I think we all give to one of the organizations that support the military, and you can name a bunch of them, and some people say, well, I don't like this one, but I like that one. But guess what? They're all taking care of and treating and helping the same
Right.
people. Have you picked up any big sponsors yet here?
Daytona Dodge is our main sponsor. Randy Dye, the owner there, and his daughter Nikki had contacted us, and they're